Let's take a closer look at this story. Teresa Helm is a survivor of sexual assault. Helm was assaulted by Jeffrey Epstein in the early 2000s. While studying at a massage school in Los Angeles, Teresa was offered a job interview that would lead her to Epstein's close associate, Gril-lane Maxwell. Teresa Helm now joins us live on NDTV. Teresa now works with the National Center for Sexual Exploitation. Teresa, thank you so very much for sharing your story here with NDTV. I know you have advice for women on being on guard about sexual violence, but in order to really understand that, please, if you could first give us a sense of how you were groomed by Gril-lane Maxwell when you were barely 22 years old. You were in LA and flew to New York. What happened?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. So that story was one of those where I was at school working, a student full-time, working full-time, and I was approached by a fellow student who was further along in the program, which led me to meeting Sarah Cullen at the beach in Los Angeles. These, unbeknownst to me at the time, these two young women were employees or recruiters, you could say, of the Epstein-Maxwell network. And after my very long conversation, in-depth, detailed conversation of what this job opportunity exactly entailed, working for Miss Maxwell, as I was given this description through conversation with Sarah Cullen, then I was flown across the country from Los Angeles to New York City to meet and interview with Miss Maxwell. And Miss Maxwell, as I was introduced to her, she was very polite, kind, very articulate, very emotionally connecting with me on every point and item that I would speak about and talk about with myself, my personal life, where I'm from, what I like to do, everything that I had to say, whether it was about Ohio, where I'm from, whether it was about my father. She had something to add and share and connect with me about the state of Ohio. She had something to add and share and connect with me about her father. She had something to add and connect with me about my birthday and her birthday and how they're one day apart, and how how that was our experience with that growing up. And so there were so many multiple back-to-back emotional connections. Everything that I was where I was at in emotion and connection, she was right there with me. And that was what I know now to be an extremely efficient, effective part of the grooming process, which builds trust. The entire point of that is for her to make me feel like I could identify with her, like to make me feel like I belonged there, like I was worthy, like because I understood very clearly by her beautiful home and photos of presidents on the wall with her in the photo. I was very clear. It was very clear to me that I was surrounded by a successful, powerful woman. However, she made me feel I belonged. And so that trust, that's exactly what she did. I was
And
able
then
to
she
build.
got you to go and meet Epstein.
That's exactly right. So when she told me that I would be then going to meet her partner Jeffrey, though I had never heard of anyone beyond Miss Maxwell the entire time, whether it was from this girl at the school to Sarah Cullen to Gillen when I first met her, not till the very end of my time with Gillen did she share with me that I was going to meet her partner. And at that point in time, any red flags that rose in me, I was able to, essentially squash them in the with the mindset that this is a safe, healthy woman and I trust her. And now I'm going to go to the second part of the interview and secure the job. So I very much so, I walked there myself. I took myself to his home, which
And it was there
demonstrates.
that you were sexually assaulted.
That is what happened that evening. Yes, after meeting him and his chef and having a lovely, what I thought to be a lovely conversation at the time with two polite, kind, charming individuals. Yes, which led
Right.
me into the assault at Jeffrey Epstein's home that
So,
evening.
Risa,
Yes.
sorry to hear that. Now, there's been a frenzy, as you know, over the Epstein files. Some years ago, you settled your lawsuit that would have helped out, I guess, with some kind of closure. So why is it really important for you to have these files released and potentially risk reliving all that trauma again?
Well, I would like to say, first of all, risk reliving the trauma. I do believe that myself and likely many, many other women, we experience the re-traumatization on a somewhat ongoing basis. There's so much media, there's so much content, there's so many memes all around that pop up at any given moment. You just really never know. These files, the focus is essentially so important for the survivors like myself and others, though I don't pretend to speak for all of them. However, what needs to happen is the transparency, because you cannot simply say that these things didn't exist when we all know through our lived experience that these are very real events. These are very real things that happened to us, things that we went through and have survived through. And there were certainly people that enabled and perpetuated the entire system, because that's exactly what this has been, a decades long, multiple decades long of a
Teresa,
systematic exploitation. Yes.
Teresa, what do you believe is in those files?
There has to be evidence of the people that helped perpetuate the exploitation for decades. And there has to be information regarding perpetrators of sexual assault to many women.
Right. Teresa, as you know, Gril-lane Maxwell is being questioned by the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, who was once Trump's personal lawyer. What do you make of that?
I believe questioning Gril-lane Maxwell is a potential, I would even say a slippery slope. What I feel is, how is this woman how is she credible? How could anyone deem her a credible witness? She's been under, prosecution for, or charged with perjury in the past. I don't believe that what she would have to say is credible. It's extremely difficult for me to even wrap my mind around that. And because why now? Why is she now stating that she
Right.
has information? She could have long ago.
Teresa, before we let you go, every day women around the world, they confront similar situations like you have faced. What would you say to them in terms of watching for those signs of grooming that you told us about, or being really on guard for sexual predators?
It's really important, number one, to listen to every single, even if it's the tiniest gut feeling that you have, because that's your truth right there. And while you might even be encouraged by the person or the environment that you're in to disregard those red flags, please do not. That is your internal alarm system, screaming at you to please listen. So that is first and foremost. Secondly, if someone's coming to you and promising you things, and if things do end up being too good to be true, listen to that. If someone wants to buy you things, take you places, these are all signs of grooming. If someone wants to,
Indeed.
if someone wants to isolate you even, which happens, sometimes they want to isolate you and kind of cut you off and try to make you feel that they're the only one there for you. These are also additional, signs of grooming. So you just have to listen to yourself and really try to identify
Right.
and stand your ground. It's very, very important.
Teresa, I really appreciate your time here on NDTV, sharing all that with us. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.